Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. It took a while for me to log on. Something was going on with the computer, but we are on. My guest is running behind, but definitely is on the way. My name is Rhoda Aglago. Thank you for joining me on Love, Forgive, Live podcast. Today's podcast is very important to me and to my family, and of course to my podcast family. I am just totally stoked because something amazing happened, and the rest of us, especially my family, we are all just elated. One thing I will share with everyone is this. We are going to go on live when my guest walks in. We will go live on YouTube, so you'll be able to see us speaking and then know what else is going on, and I'll share the big news that I've been telling everybody about. First of all, I wanted to make sure that everybody would understand this. Life will throw you a curveball. That's what I said for last week's episode. This week's, I feel, is a continuation of that because we are in a time where we didn't expect things to turn around this way, and life surprise gave us an amazing gift, and we are just so excited. Now, this might come as a shock to you, but this individual is a long lost brother that I haven't known. I didn't even know existed, and 40 years later, he's been looking for us. 40 years later, he finds his family, and he's my brother. I'm totally stoked because I've never had a brother that age. I have a brother, but he's much younger. But somebody close to my age, and just it's incredible because we tend to share so much, and we are so similar. The way we met is going to be like just crazy, but he will explain this when he gets here. Let me give you a little backstory. I thought I had only just me and because I'm the firstborn, so I thought it's just me, my sister, and then my other sister, and then my little brother. So I thought it's just the four of us, and I had no idea that there was going to be another one that we didn't know about. I had no clue at all. So imagine going about your day and hearing that you have a brother, and that brother has been looking for you and has been reaching out for you for years, and there was no success. And the pain, imagine the pain and the agony of trying and trying and trying and looking for this person and not getting any results. I think that part of the story, he's going to have to share it for himself because I cannot do it justice because I wasn't the one who experienced it. He was the one who did the work. He was the one who was constantly, actively looking. Imagine looking for something. Imagine looking for something and spending weeks, sometimes even weeks, just hours and a couple of days looking for something, but then not being able to get results. That is just incredible. There's nothing better. Understanding the pain of seeking out what it is you want is just amazing. I can't say enough about that. And let me explain this. So if you guys have a chance, or if you had listened to the earlier episodes, meaning from the first to the first 9 or 10, I talked a little bit about my life, that I grew up in Ghana, West Africa, and then I came here to Canada at 15. And my dad brought me here. And at the time, I had no idea what I was walking into. I didn't know much about this country and where I was going. I didn't know anything about that. I was just brought here. It was very confusing. So, needless to say, my dad was living here for years prior to bringing me, so he knew this area more than I could ever imagine. So, coming here and being alone as an only, to me, I knew at the time I was an only child. So it was a lot for me. I didn't understand what was going on. Most of the time when I went to places, I didn't get any understanding when people talked to me, and I would get frustrated and not know what to do. So it was very difficult. And most of the time it bothered me because there was something that I couldn't understand about the culture or the environment. And it was difficult, frustrating, and not knowing how to speak the language. Oh my gosh. It was hard, really hard. I was not expecting that level of difficulty. My guest is behind. My guest is on his way. He just called me. He's on his way. All right, so he just called that he's on his way. And he can explain more about himself, but I'm just telling you a little bit about the times that I was around from the beginning, and my beginning anyways. So it was difficult. But my dad was always pushing and encouraging me to do things and not give up and work harder. And as I was working harder, I recognized that I was always putting myself in a position where I would try to get into a situation where learning will be possible. And that helped me navigate the difficulty of being in a new environment. I'm sure those of you who are immigrants, you've experienced the confusion in trying to find your way. Imagine if I had a brother at that time who already knew the system and how things are. I think things would have been different. I wouldn't have had such a difficult time trying to, I don't know if I would call it assimilate, but trying to adjust to the culture and how things are. I don't know, but I think it would have made a big difference if I had known that I had a brother out there. Imagine that. It would have been amazing. But hey, I didn't expect it, and I didn't know. So it is what it is. One thing I want everyone to understand is this: no matter what happens, make sure your heart is open. Make sure your heart is open, because when things happen, when the unexpected happens, use it. Use that unexpected situation to create joy. Even if it's painful, find meaning or a lesson in that circumstance. On the other hand, I think I learned early that when I'm open to new experiences, I'm much more relaxed in doing things that are different. Because when you're not open to experiencing something new, you will have a difficult time adjusting to new things. So it can throw you off. You become jaded, confused, angry, and often untrustworthy of others. You won't trust other people. They are not people who you can trust. You would look at everybody with a cross eye. I don't know about you, but I won't be able to do that. That's just not me. I'm always open to learning new things. My heart is open to loving and growing, because we have to keep evolving. And that's how we become who we are now. And believe me, that doesn't mean it ends for me. For me, I know learning doesn't end for me here. I'm learning more and more and growing more and more. So it's important for me to recognize that these new experiences, because it gives me a chance to stay focused. Finally, my guest is back in here. We're going to go live so you can see this person. So whilst we're figuring all that out, you can say hello to the audience.
Hello. My name is Conroy Aglago. Aglago. I'm happy to be on today's show. I'm very excited to work with Schroda. I've been watching her videos and her podcasts, and really appreciate that she's here to help people. And also, yeah, let's get this show on the road.
Plug that in. Now, you may hear us talking and trying to get things done and get ourselves on live on YouTube so you can see us. And unfortunately, I don't have anywhere to read any comments, so I'll give you an address. You can give me email address. You can send your questions, and we'll do our best to address them for you during the time that we can do our best to address them for you during the time that you can ask more questions. Okay, there will be other times that we will come on for you to ask your questions live, and then we can take care of that. We are gonna go.
You want me to share it?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that was for my phone. Okay, this is what just happened. I have to explain this. My brother has a phone, right? His phone, the cover is black. My cover is black. And the phone looks like they look the same to me. So he's doing something on it, and I thought it's my phone. So I took it away from him and changed the thing. And he goes, "Do you want me to share it?" So I realized it's the wrong phone. See? Siblings, we do these things. And it's okay, because nobody's getting mad. Go ahead and speak.
Yes. So, it's an interesting thing to see how well I get along with my older sister. We've just met within the past month, and it's like we grew up together. So it can be an odd feeling, but it feels very nice. And we're also into similar things, so such as I do like a video here and there to help out some of my friends, to inspire them, to help them have a nice day. My sister has actually went to school for this type of stuff, and she's heavily engaged in it. And It's just really, really fun to have her in my life.
As I was saying, most of the time, I didn't know that I could do podcasts. I've talked about it with you guys some time, but I didn't even realize this. But like I told you guys before he came in, that he's going to tell the story of how we met. So, and he's, like I said, a long lost brother. He's almost 40 years old now. And we just found out that we are brother and sister. And yeah, it's a surprise for me and for my family. Well, like I said, just go ahead and talk.
Let me take over.
Yes, please do.
Okay, where do I start? First, I would like to start with... Oh, should I turn on the video?
Hold on, just keep speaking.
So first, I'd like to start with a little bit about myself. Mm-hmm. So I was born in Regina, Saskatchewan, roughly 40 years ago. My mother had a relationship with my father, Emmanuel. Mm-hmm. You know, things didn't work out. They, you know, went their own separate ways. They had an argument in which my mother had told my father not to come back. And so fast forward until I turned, you know, a young man, I started asking about my father. My mother told me the situation. She ensured to tell me that my father had made sure that he took care of me financially, and when he was in my life, he came by on a regular basis and, you know, made sure he took care of me and her. And so that's the information I had, what country he came from and what his name was. I did a little bit of investigation at 16 years old. It led me to some places, but it wasn't, you know, the right time, because I was going through a lot of traumatic things as a young man at that time. So, so that's a little bit about myself. And fast forward, when I was about 19, I wasn't being the best human being on the earth helping people. My mother had passed away, and I decided that I would change my entire life. My mother had wanted me to be a better person, and so I started living a proper life. You know, working hard and being a good person and productive person in society. And taking care of my 16-year-old brother. Then we fast forward, I have a couple kids, I meet my beautiful wife, I get married, and then you always feel like something's missing. You know, when you grow up and you're mixed, so I'm part Ghanaian and part Native American. So, you know, I was raised in one tradition, but I always felt like I was missing something else. And so, basically, I had a little bit of relationship issues going on with my marriage, and we decided to go out for dates to, you know, create some good memories, some good situations. And during that time, we went to a birthday party or a graduation party, and the lady said, "Oh, this older couple, they're from Ghana." So I sat, we talked, and they asked me, you know, where I'm from. I told them I didn't know. They, you know, I said, well, I haven't seen my dad in, you know, 37 plus years. And they said, oh, well, what's his name? I told them the name of my father. Immediately, one man says, I went to school with a man that name. And the wife says, that name, that last name, they're from my village. So within a couple days, they tracked down my uncle. And then my uncle started making some phone calls to the family. It eventually got to my sister. And my sister was able to contact me, and we started the process.
Now, what before you called, or before I called you, what did you hear about me, your sister, and the rest of the family.
Now, what I had heard is we come from a large, respectable family. I had found out that my grandfather had 33 children, which was not a surprise to me. Like on my native side, my great grandfather and my grandfather, they had lots of children. It was a normal thing for us. I Facebook stalked and Instagram stalked my sister prior to meeting her. So I already knew what she was into. I already knew she was into motivational speaking and stuff like that. So, but really I didn't know what to expect. And I had watched a video on expectations. It was a TED Talk, actually. And so, in this video, the lady just happened to be talking about when she eventually found her biological parents because she was adopted. And she talked about the kind of expectations she would have, when she was on her way to meet her biological parents. And when I watched that video, I didn't even know that it would actually relate to something in my life that was going to happen. So we, before I got into this process, I decided that I wouldn't have any, really bad expectations or really, really good expectations because I was unaware of how this would go. So I just decided I'm going to let it flow naturally and just enjoy the ride. And this way, whatever did happen, I wouldn't be disappointed, like have my hopes up too high that, it was going to be a super positive situation, or come into the situation thinking it's going to be a really terrible situation, and then eventually pushing it towards that by my attitudes and behaviors. So I came into this just letting go of control. It's been a very good situation, letting go of control. For people out there listening to this, give it a try. It can be scary sometimes to let go of control, but it really does work. Okay, what do we do now? We on?
Okay. Yeah, no, you're on Facebook Live right now.
Oh, hello, people.
Hi, I'm Schroeder. And of course,
Yes.
This is Conroy. So he's the one who was speaking. So now you have a face to
There we go,
a
fans.
voice.
Okay, so it's smoky in Calgary again.
Yeah,
So that's
this
why
guy
my
is
throat's
pretty.
irritated.
Yeah.
Okay, you want to go, sis?
Sure. So, where did you leave off?
Coming into the situation with expectations.
Yes. Of course, we both know expectations are very difficult to handle. And usually when I'm working with clients, the first thing I tell them is, let's try and figure out what your expectations are. Because once we know your expectations, we are better able to recognize what you've been setting yourself up for. Because expectation literally is a setup for failure. Because when you have an expectation, here's what the problem it causes you. That it will cause you. You have this build up and thinking things will be perfect. And yes, I'll put that in air quotes. You think things will be perfect and it's going to be grand. You have all these things you built up about it. But then again, you can't organize and order everything around you to fit what you're dreaming or expecting. And so for that reason, when you experience a situation and it doesn't fit the pattern and the situation that you're looking for, the letdown is extremely painful. And believe me, for somebody who had practiced that years ago before I became a therapist, it was painful. And then after I started learning about expectation and the patterns and how painful it could be, and I was like, oh my God, so that's what I was doing to myself. So expectations are very, very tricky, and it's not even something that anyone should experience. And I'm telling you, he got it because he already set himself out like, I'm not going to expect much, but I'm going to give it a shot. And when I talked to him, and was it the first day I spoke to you and I told you, thank you for not giving up?
Yes.
And what did you think about that?
For me, I just thought it was a normal thing to always want to find your other side of your family. So I didn't think it was a huge deal that I kept looking, kept searching. But also, like, that's just not who I am. I don't give up. I keep going. So it was just a normal thing to do that. And it's worth it. When you're on a journey and you're trying to find something. It's my belief that your subconscious and your heart, they're telling you that you're missing something. You don't know that you're missing this. You're like, oh no, I'm fine. I have everything I need. But you don't know. Your subconscious knows you're missing something. Your heart knows you're missing something.
Yes.
So you have to find it. And when you find it, there's no guarantees that it's going to be a good thing or a bad thing. That's the tricky part. I know people in my situation where they found their parents. It wasn't always the best situation. But we have to, as people, we have to complete that part of the journey. We have to find that side, understand that side. And it helps us to understand ourselves. So, excuse me. For me, the biggest thing is ensuring that I complete the duties and the tasks that my subconscious, my heart, and my spirit need me to complete in this life. And finding my sister and my father and my other family was a part of that. And it's been a very good experience. And because I came into it with no expectations, whether it would go good or bad, it was easier to absorb the positive situation. And when there was negative situations in this, I'm able to filter those and look at those without a heavy emotion. So this is very interesting. And as we do some more of these podcasts, you will hear the other stories that my sister and I have discovered about each other as we go through this. It's really, really eerie.
It's eerie because you guys know I write a lot, and of course those that have known me over the years, friends and family, know that I am an avid writer. I'm constantly writing. And I'm constantly writing. You know what? I just realized I'm live on my personal Facebook, and so I need to go live on there. I have to figure out what to do, how to switch over for that one too. So in any case, yeah, there it is. In any case, this is how things work when, like I said, I've been writing and writing and writing. I've been writing and writing and not realizing that I've been doing this. And then I gave my poem, because I write a list of poems. I have this poem book I write my poems in. So I gave it to my brother to read the other day, and he read a couple of them. And he's like, wait, you were feeling that? And you wrote that? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, what? I don't get it. How are you? And I don't know. I was just feeling something, and I just wrote down what I write. And then sometimes I'll say something, and then he's like, oh, you do that too? So we're like, why are you, how is it that you're able to do the same thing I'm doing? And we've never really lived with each other or seen each other ever. And just a couple of days ago, a few days ago, on Thursday, that's the 19th, was our first time meeting. And it was so weird. You would think we've known each other for like years.
Yes, years.
It was. I don't understand it. We both didn't understand it. And then he's like, how's this girl happening? And then I'm watching him and he's talking, right? And he puts his hands over his head. And my dad always does that. And I'm like, wait. He's never lived with my dad. He's never met the man yet. And why is he doing gestures that my dad does when he's thinking or sometimes talking to people? And then after coming here, and then my sister-in-law called her mom and was having my dad introduce my dad to her mom on the phone, on video, right? Whilst that was happening, I kid you not, my dad did a gesture. As the mother-in-law saw my dad do it, so she started screaming. And I'm thinking, what happened? And she's like, oh my gosh, how could this be? This is the second Conroy. And so she told her daughter that, then she closed her mouth, then she held her head. She's like, this is crazy. I was just like, okay, things are happening right in front of our eyes, and we are not even aware of it. But people who know us see them, and then they pick him up. And then, of course, I saw his, and I was like, what's going on here? So it's been very strange in dealing with all this stuff. I came here and I met my nieces, his 3 girls. And there's a 4th girl. She's in a different city, but I will meet her soon. What surprised me is, especially the middle daughter, is exactly like mine. Her character, her comments that she makes, and then when she makes the comments, I turn around and I look at her and I'm like, my child used to do that. And I was, I'm sleeping in her room, and of course I look in this picture collage that she has, and she has a gesture, like this facial expression picture that she took, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have a picture of my daughter posing the same way in my bedroom, and I'm looking at that picture, and I'm like, this is really, really eerie. How all these things are just intertwined and just working. But a little backdrop. I just remember something you said, that you've been searching over the years, and you Facebook stalked me or Instagram stalked me. Mm-hmm. See, this is the only time that I will smile and allow stalking. Okay?
Oh. So, I wasn't obsessing and like staring at her picture every day or something like that. It's just the thing is, like, to find my father. So when I found her profile, I wasn't even sure that she was my sister. So I had to, like, because I was like, I knew that I had a sister named Schroda Eglago.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even sure the correct spelling. So, there's many different names in Ghana.
Whoops.
So there's many different names in Ghana. So, one of the challenging parts was to actually confirm that she was my sister and that we had spelt the name correctly. So that was that was hard, first of all, because I had to spell the name first EEG, like egg la goo, EGG LAGOO. First I started there. I had no success. So when I found her profile, I wasn't even sure if she was my sister. So I had to go through her friends list so I could see, okay, how can I try to find if this is my family? Mm-hmm. So anyways, yeah, I wasn't being a weird stalker trying to do all that stuff. But the thing is like, I showed her picture to one of my aunties, and she said she has the same cheekbones and same eyes as you. Wow. And then I showed it to some other people. Some people were like, "Oh, that doesn't look like your sister." But I was very confused. I'm looking at this picture, trying to contact this person that I have no clue if they're actually my family. But I had to take that risk. So, anyways, yeah. Actual stalking is not good. I do not support it or approve of it. It's harassment and abuse.
Yes.
Let's be clear.
Yeah, so this is the one time, and here's what, like, as he was saying that he did go on my Instagram, Facebook, and all this stuff, and to try and get in contact with me. The problem was, when he was trying to get in contact with me, I was actually, I decided to take myself off of Facebook by not communicating on Facebook at all. I was not going back to Facebook daily, weekly, or monthly at all, because I found out something. A friend of mine that I went to boarding school with passed away, and I found out about her death on Facebook. So needless to say, I was shocked and it scared me. So I decided not to go to Facebook ever again. Like, literally, I did that. That was 2017, and I was like, no more. So prior to that, my last post would have been from September 2017. I wasn't going on there. So he sent the email to me through Facebook on 2018.
2018, yeah.
2018. And like I said, I wasn't there. So I had no clue. And he tried to call me. I wasn't answering and my page was private. So he couldn't have gone any further. And
yeah.
So the calls, I don't know if they didn't come in or whatever, but I didn't get anything. And I never saw anything.
Okay, so a part of that was I thought my sister was avoiding me. But like on the Facebook thing, you could see that she hadn't read the message because you send the message and it'll show that it's sent, but there's a little icon that says if someone's actually received it and read it. She didn't read it. So, like when I talked to her, I was like, okay. And this is where coming in with certain expectations matters. So if I came in with the expectation, hey, my sister's been ducking me for X amount of years, and this, and came in with this negative emotion, this negative thought, then anything she said, I would have took it as evidence to support my negative theory. So instead, I just came into the situation just kind of with a blank slate. Like, I'm not sure what's going on, and we'll just take everything at face value. And that's where having no expectations actually works. Because if I would have had really negative expectations, I would have only taken one word or one comment to support my negative thoughts. Mm-hmm. And if I came in with too much positive expectations, I would have just pushed away anything I thought may have been weird. It's like, oh, that doesn't matter. All that matters is this. So you come into it with a logical mind. There's always emotions involved. That's normal. We're human beings. But you've kind of come in even keel, right in the gray. That's what they like to say in counseling. Live in the gray.
Yes. Because there's always a possibility that what you are thinking, understanding, believing, the dialogue you're having in your head, I promise you, chances are you're probably wrong. If you had a chance to ask the questions that you wish you could ask and get an understanding, you will actually get something completely different from what you're saying in your head or what you're believing. And I was so glad he did that, because I remember when we spoke on the phone, you were like, hey, I'm willing to go with this process and be patient.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wait, what did he just say? He's been looking for so long and he's saying that. And I thought, okay, he's either a really deep thinker or he's protecting himself. This is the other thing. He's protecting himself and guarding himself for any letdown that will come from an unrealistic expectation, and he's setting himself up to make sure he does not get hurt. That's what I was thinking in my head. So I was like, either those two things. And then the more we talked, I was like, no, he really has process and understand that this whole situation is coming out of everywhere because he's been looking for so long, and he's willing to be open-minded and allow any, if at all, any sort of thought he's had about any negative expectation can be explained. He was open to that. And I think that's what most people sometimes walk into a situation with expectation and forget that there could be another possibility.
So I don't know the psychological term for this, but basically in any situation, I find that, especially this one, very, very challenging at first. You know, we want to protect ourselves, we want to protect our heart, you know, but there's some situations where you have to let the shield down, because you have to be able to walk into it with faith and hope, and that's where letting the shield down, you know, walking into a situation knowing that you could be hurt, you know, and you want to throw up all these protections to be like, okay, I want to protect myself. But there's sometimes where you just got to let the shield down and just have faith that, you know, everything's going to go the way it's supposed to go. And that's one of the biggest things that has helped me through this process, is having faith that things will go the way they're supposed to go.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I remember yesterday I was giving you, when you were reading the poetry book, what was my other names?
Your 4 other names?
No, remember the name you just mentioned? So the Schroeder?
Yes. Faith. Yes.
Yeah, because that's the funniest part. Because I was like, see, here are all my names. And you're like, oh my gosh. Yes, because I have all those names. But this is the power of understanding and giving yourself the opportunity to learn. Because I didn't know I had a brother. And he already knew, and he was looking for me. And I remember one of the things you said, was it the second day we were talking? You were like, man, we're more connected than you think.
Yes.
And I was like, what? And he said, yeah, you go, I will explain later. And I was like, what is it? And you said, I will explain it later. And I thought, okay. But what I have learned from this whole situation is we are so close.
Mm-hmm.
We are so close in such a short amount of time. This whole thing happened 3 weeks ago.
Wow. I didn't even think it was that short.
I'm not kidding.
So,
3 weeks ago.
One of the things is we had similar experiences growing up. I had lots of struggles. My sister had struggles as well. So it was really
bizarre.
I really can't explain the feeling for people to understand, but it's when things fall into place, like having faith that you know the Creator has a plan for you.
Yes.
So, for instance, if I would have found my sister and my brother, say, 5 years ago, I would have been filled with a lot of regret, a lot of pain, a lot of anger, and it wouldn't have been a good situation to unite. I wasn't at emotionally and spiritually and psychologically, I wasn't at the place where I could absorb this kind of situation. I would have went into it with just negative emotions, negative expectations, and nothing would have worked for me, because I would just be like, no matter what you do as my new family, you'll never make up for however many years you weren't around.
Yeah.
So now at my age of close to 40, and the things I've been through in the past 5 years has given me a new perspective on life.
Yes.
And
rightly so.
yes, and that has really prepared me for this situation.
Yeah.
And my sister has been through some things in the past 5 years, and it's
crazy.
Unbelievable.
When we compared notes,
Yeah.
and this is the weird part. Whilst I was going through the stuff years ago, he was also going through something difficult years ago. So it's almost like we both had this emotional angst happening at the same time. He's here in Canada and I was in the US. Okay? And in the northeastern area. And this is happening. Parallel lives were happening. But we were not, well, he's aware of me, but I'm not aware of him. But I didn't know what was going on with him. And he didn't know what was going on with me. He was just like, oh, I got a sister. And I'm looking for her. That's it. And so we started talking and comparing notes. And it's like, wait, you went through that at that time? Wait, you went through that at that time? What? Okay, so we were like, okay, this is weird. Our lives are way too parallel. But my other sister, one of my younger sister, as soon as I called her and told her about our brother, and I kind of told her first before my dad did. So my dad was trying to, because he's already been up on the stuff that I'm dad before my brother, and he's like trying to make sense of this whole thing because he's like, oh my gosh. And I was like, Dad, have you told them yet? He's like, not yet. I will. And I'm like, have you told them yet? Not yet. And I'm like, okay, I can't keep this to myself. And for me, if it's something that good news, I'm not going to sit on it and pretend like, I know something you don't know. I don't do that. So I told my sister, and this is what she said. Oh, I've known about him. And I was like, what do you mean you've known about him? She said, oh, he asked for a friend's request on Instagram. And I go, well, did you respond? She said, well, I thought it was kind of weird that one of his daughter kind of looks like your daughter. And it's even her mannerism, the way that she talks, kind of looks like, similar to yours. And I thought, why didn't you tell me? She said, well, I didn't. I was just like weirded out. And she went to his page and checked who he is, because that's how my sister is. She would check who you are if you want to follow her, or if you follow her. She would go and check who you are first before she decides to follow you or allow you to get anywhere information. So she decided to not, check all that stuff, and she said, look, he kind of looks like our dad, though. But why does he look like us? It's kind of weird. But I don't know this person, but, maybe it's one of my sisters, me, my friend, my coworker. That's why maybe I talked about her to him, and he's just checking her page out. So that's what she was thinking about. And I was like, but when I called you, I didn't even tell you the name. And you told me you know. She said, I had a feeling. And I was like, if you had a feeling, why didn't you tell me? Because I didn't know. And she said, she said, I didn't think this was possible because it never crossed our mind like we have any sibling out there. And I was like, yeah, but stuff like that. And I said, he's been looking for us. She said, oh. And so she decided to add him. And then one other thing, I think you said you contacted our cousin.
Yeah, our cousin
in England. Vanessa Aglago.
But the same thing, like she must have a private setting. And so I sent her a message, but I don't think she's ever read it. So on Facebook, when you get like private messages from somebody you don't know, it shows up in a different location on your inbox.
Yes.
And you have to actually click it to go in to see who's been sending you messages that's not a part of your friends list. I didn't even know how to do that until like last year. So most people don't know that there's, another little button that you press to see messages that people you don't know sent you.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah. So, but the thing is, once again, there was a point where I found my father's number. I think it was about 2 years ago. I was up late, like about 2 o'clock at night, searching.
Oh my gosh.
When I figured out, like, okay, I think I got his spelling of his name correctly. I put it in the 411 directory online, and boom, it popped up a manual in Ontario, which is Toronto. So it gave me 2 numbers. So I didn't know which one it was, and I was going to write it down, but I didn't. And that's the thing is,
so
at that time, I still wasn't ready.
Yeah, so what was it that stopped you from not writing and you didn't write the number?
I had negative expectations. That's what it was. Looking back, I had a negative expectation.
Share 2 of them.
Yeah, so the negative expectation obviously is that rejection. Rejection is always an expectation that people in my situation, that they will be rejected by their new family or they will be rejected by their biological parent.
Yes.
So rejection. And having control, losing control.
Oh,
so
yeah.
When you don't know where your family is, you have control of the narrative because you create a narrative within your own mind. You create a construct. This is the way they are. This is why they abandoned me or why they left me. You create a construct with the information that you have.
Yes, at that time.
Yes. Now, with the prospects of finding out the truth means that you lose control.
Yeah.
Because either the truth is either much worse than what you thought, or the truth is nothing to what you thought, which means you lose control. You've created a construct that you carry for years. You got to understand, like, I had a construct in my mind about my father and my other side of the family for years. I thought about my father every day. And it's weird. Like, why do you need to be like a grown-ass man thinking about your dad? You don't need anymore because you're a man who has a family, has a career, has money, all these things that you think you need from your father. You already have those things, but why do you think about it every day? The fact is, you just do. So when I found the number, I faced the prospect that I could lose control. And, it's like, oh, well, if I call him, what if he rejects me, first of all?
Yes.
Then, what if he does something totally unexpected that just changes my narrative or hurts me or surprises me, and then I don't know how to handle it emotionally. I don't know how to filter it. At the time, if I called him and he's like, oh, well, I don't know, let's talk about this, I probably would have never called back. To be honest, whatever response that he would have given me wouldn't have been the response that I wanted because I was carrying a lot of expectations. So I wasn't ready. And talking to my sister first was the right way for things to go down. I have a really good understanding of psychology now, just going through my own personal trials and tribulations in life, and understanding of patience. And I can't control other people.
Yes.
So my sister's like, let's be patient through this. I was like, hey, I'm more than willing to be patient through this process. Let's take it slow and figure things out. That's the best way to handle these kind of things.
Yes. Because when he called, we were talking, and one of the things I remember saying was, I remember telling him, and I said, I'm so sorry. And then he's like, it's okay, it's not your fault. And I was like, but I wish I had done more, because let me explain why I felt that way. Because I think well, I love you too. So back in, was it 97? Yeah, I think it was 97. 97. And I was in UFR in Regina, and I was in school. And then my brother, I got a call. I kid you not. I went to school and came home. I'm trying to remember, so I'm looking up I'm trying to go into my memory bank to get the information because it's been a while. So I went to school, and at the time I was working full time and going to school. So I came home and I was like, man, I have to go to work around 5:30. So I said, let me take a nap. So I took a nap. And when I was taking the nap, I had this weird dream. Somebody was telling me in the dream, kid you not, Scott's honor, like somebody was telling me in the dream, he's my brother. And I was like, huh? Okay, that's kind of weird. Well, it turns out, whilst I was having this dream, in my nap, my phone rings. So I pick up the phone. And then somebody asked me, is this Rhoda Aglago? And I was like, yes. Hold on. And then the phone was passed on to him. And he was about 16.
Yes.
And then he's like, I'm Emmanuel's daughter. That's my dad's name. And I'm Emmanuel's son, sorry. I'm Emmanuel's son. You're my sister. And I was like, is this a dream? And he's like, no, this is real. And I'm your brother. And then he says, oh yeah. He said, I asked him, how do you look like? Because I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah.
And he's like, I look just like him.
She actually, funny thing, she asked me what the shape of my head was. Which is kind of weird.
I know.
I don't know. Like, I don't know how to explain that. Like, it's
I don't
kind
know
of, like,
what
round. I'm not sure. It's round and kind of flat on the back. Like, I got a fat
I was
face.
confused. I was sleeping. And I was, do you understand the dream I had? And then this phone call. And you were saying this. So I'm dumbfounded. So, of course, my brain is not going to function right away and ask something intelligent. So he's like, well, he said, I look just like him. And I'm like, I don't know anything about this. Give me a number. I'm going to call my dad and ask him questions. That's what I told him. And I said, okay, and I'll call you back. So he believed me that I'll call back. I wrote the number down. Mind you, I just picked up the nearest thing to me and wrote a number down without putting a name on it. And somebody taught me every time you take a message, whatever it is, put what, why, when, and who. And now I understand how important those things are. But I didn't do any of that. I just wrote the number down. So, of course, I called my dad later on and asked him. And then he was like, well, he told me the story of how they broke up and how he left. And so he's like, I should ask him to ask his mom. Because he doesn't know that you know the story. So he doesn't want to try and offend her by sharing something that maybe she's not ready or comfortable to sharing with her son. And he didn't want to, I guess he wanted to respect her boundaries that maybe she set. So he was like, listen, let him ask his mom. And I was like, oh, okay. So that was it for me. Here, I didn't know what was going on, so I just went about my business. I didn't call him. So I just thought, oh, so that means he's not my brother. So I didn't bother calling. And the fact of the matter is, I didn't even know the number. I didn't even know where I put the number. So even if I saw the number, I wouldn't even know what it's for because I did it in sleep, just waking up. So that was it. So I never got any phone calls from them. Never. So at this rate, I'm like, I don't have a brother. Like, it just never crossed my mind. Because if it did, I would have probably been one of those people that would be asking questions and getting details on trying to find out, well, I need to know more about this person. But I didn't know. So I had no clue. So until this time, my cousin called me from Ghana and was like, hey, there's a family secret. And I was like, family secret? And then he told me and I started laughing. He said, you already know? And I was like, well, I have an idea and this is what happened. And then we talked and everything just started unraveling. And the strangest thing is, once things started, I started calling my dad and I was like, hey, Dad, this is what's going on. I have his picture. He's really our brother, my brother. And he's like, well, yeah, he is. He looks just like me. And I was like, well, you didn't tell me that. And so then we just went through the whole thing, and he was like, well, sometimes, adults have to keep things private. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to respect his personal space and let it be. But then I made sure I was talking to my brother and getting more details about who he is and where he's going and all that.
She was interviewing me.
What?
But you know what? At my age, I understand that.
You saw through that?
Yeah, I understand that. Because the thing is, it's like, for instance, someone coming new into the family, no matter if they're blood, they're still technically strangers. And you want to make sure, see what the intentions are. Especially, she's my father's guard. She's the oldest one, and she wants to make sure, he's safe. So for her, she didn't know if I was, someone with ill will intentions, filled with regret and rage and revenge. She wasn't sure. Not that she wanted to keep me from my father, but as the oldest daughter, she wanted to make sure that this would be a smooth transition, which I respect. But like I said, 5 years ago, I would have been like, I deserve to know right now. All the information I want right now, I should have it. And if you don't give it to me, I'm going to be mad.
Yes.
That's the way I would have been 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But the man I am today understands that things flow. There's patience. And if you want to learn something, it's a very key piece of advice. If you want to learn something, especially when speaking to someone, just shut up. Just listen. You don't have to impose your importance. You don't have to impose your intelligence onto somebody. You just zip it up and you listen. And this is when you will find out about people. Well, you will get the answers you're looking for without forcing it out of someone. You just listen. Now, this is a skill that took me many years to develop. As a young man, I would say, I'm going to give you a question. I want my answer because I deserve my answer. That's just how young people are. When you get a little bit wiser, you understand. Just listen. That's it. Just listen. Especially to your therapist. Just listen.
It's interesting. When we were talking, and my guard went up a little bit, and then I noticed that he noticed. And then he said, "You're very protective of your dad, huh?" Right. And I was like, "How did he know that?" I didn't say anything. It was just a thought in my head, and I was like, and then it's almost like he said or addressed the thought in my head that I didn't speak of, because I was just listening to him. And then I said one thing, and then he paused. He said he paused, and he paused, and then he said, "You paused." And I was like, "What?" And he goes, "You changed the subject." And I go, "Whoa. He's a really good listener." Because he was able to know. Because most people, when I speak to them, they don't see these subtle changes in tone or pause. And he did. And that's why I was like, okay, he's a little more in tune than I thought. So that started giving me the chance to start lowering my walls and my guard. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, okay. So then I started explaining to him, no, yes, I'm protective of my dad, but I'm protective of everybody in my family.
Well, she should be.
So, and I told him once he gets to know me more and more, he recognized that I'm that way with my cousins' children, my child, my friends' children, and my uncles. I'm like that with everybody across the board. And the same way when my clients come to me, whether they come to me for coaching, spirituality coaching, therapy, marriage counseling, all of that, I am very protective of the relationship, either their therapeutic relationship or coach relationship. I'm protective, always like that. So he picked up, and I was like, okay, there's a lot of similarities between him, myself, and our dad, because my dad is like that. Sometimes when people are doing things around him and being really pretentious and doing fictitious things, he usually stays calm and just watch what is going on and get in tune with everything that's going on. And then he reads the environment and everybody and what they're doing. And then they think he doesn't know because he's not speaking. And he taught me that. And people are like, man, Shura, you talk a lot. Yes, I do. But one thing my dad also taught me was listening. And people did tell me that, like, wow, you're a really good listener. Was because he taught me to listen and speak. Because to have those two skills is hard. Mm-hmm. It is not easy. And to learn it, you really have to apply yourself to be a person that recognizes surrender and be present in the process. Because presence is what will give you the tools to learn more and more and more.
Can we speak on surrender?
Surrender.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, I don't use all the big technical words that my sister uses.
No, you're using them just fine.
So I went through depression about 4 months ago. It's a really rough stint. I've seen people go through it, but I never understood how it actually feels until you go through it. It's some deep ass shit.
Yes.
And during that time, it's a breakdown of who you currently are, and it's a rebirth time. This is my opinion. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, part of that rebirth is you're going to need people. You're going to need the creator. You're going to need help. You're going to need people too. And say you have 25 people in your life, only 5 of them can actually help you. So you're going to need to first figure out which one of them is the 5.
Yes.
And 10 of those people will probably want to kick you while you're down.
Yes. They thrive on it.
Yes, they thrive on your depression, which is really, really hard. So anyways, a part of coming out of that was self-love, spiritual growth, healing, and surrender. Yes. Now, when someone told me about surrender, was this older gentleman. He's a chief. He's a very spiritual person. He's a chief in the Native community, so Native American community. He's one of my uncles. He talked about meditating for 2 hours a day, and he's like, you got to learn to surrender. And I was like, man, are you crazy? Like, what is wrong with you? Like, surrender? Like what? So I'm just supposed to let people, hammer me down? I'm just supposed to let this chaos continue in my life? And that's what I thought he meant by surrender. But surrender is faith.
Yes.
So what he meant is this letting go of control. Yes, you still have to protect yourself. Yes, you still have to work on yourself. Yes, you still have to learn. But letting go of control. Knowing that you can do all these things and you still don't control the outcome.
Yes.
You have to let it flow. And that's where surrender is faith, essentially, to me anyways. It's like, your logical mind is telling you that this decision you're about to make is the wrong decision.
Yes.
Your emotional mind is telling you you should be scared as fuck. You should be horrified because you're not scared. You don't know emotionally what's going to happen. So a part of yourself, both of your sides, are saying, whoa, this is the unknown. This is the dark. You're doing a leap of faith.
Yes.
And you don't know if you're going to land on the other side. But once you have surrender, you surrender to that, knowing that you're not sure how it's going to work.
Yes.
You're going to do your best, but you're not sure of the outcome.
Yes.
Faith really kicks in, and the Creator steps in, and you need to be able to see it though, because you may be constantly looking for the bad things.
Yes.
So when that light comes into your life, you have to be able to see it. So my sister is one of those lights, and my father
too,
is one of those
it's
lights.
really, really powerful. It's a
Yes.
powerful and consuming light, actually, and it's one that I'm greatly, greatly welcome.
Yes. So surrender is important on change when you coming to change, and change usually happens after your greatest pain.
Yes. Whew, I talked about that some
yes.
time ago.
And we want change to happen, like, I want to change my life, so I'm going to read this book. Yes, that can help you make small incremental changes. But the big change comes through after some horrible stuff in your life goes down.
Yes.
And you have to crawl out of the pit.
Yes.
The pit of depression, and you're crawling out of it.
Yes.
That is where your biggest change comes in. And it's my opinion that in order to crawl out of the pit of depression, you have to be willing to look deep within yourself.
Yes.
And you have to look at the ugly sides too. And you have to acknowledge them.
Yes.
And you have to say, like, ooh, I thought I was like the best person in the world, but when I look deep inside, I have to see that there's ugly sides of me too. And then you have to work on yourself.
Yes.
And you get to decide who you want to be. We're not perfect human beings. It's impossible to be perfect. But we have to decide what parts of us is helpful and is going to help us grow and going to help human beings around us, and which parts are not good for us.
Yes.
And we decide. Not your friends, not the people around you. You have to make that inner choice.
Yes, and then not the society or the social media, because this is what I find, and it happens more and more, especially in the younger. Love you too. It happens in the younger generation where they become more. I'm not saying all of them, but some of them, where they start seeking out what somebody would do based on what they're going through. So they don't access their own emotion. They end up taking on what somebody's emotions are supposed to be and believe that's their own, and they take it on and it breaks them down. But then they start owning it and believing that this is how I feel, this is how I am, or I always hear this is the way I am. No, it's not. And if we break it down, in session, of course, we break it down and they're like, oh my gosh. So this is really not my own. This is not my thoughts. These are not my understanding and my emotions. Because here's something called mirror neurons.
Ooh.
Look it up. We mirror others. A lot of the time, we are mirroring what others are bringing to us. Babies are very good at this. They mirror what they feed off their parents. And I'll give you an example. I'll try and make it a short one. But I think I spoke about when I used to do that business and do the parent coaching to transition new mothers into being the mom, because when they come home with a baby, they're freaking out. They're like, I don't know what to do. And they're freaking out. Well, I'm the one who come in and then we put things together. I teach how to feed the baby, how to massage the baby, how to swaddle, how to do this. And then we put all that together and I write schedules and everything for the people, and then we put them all together. Here's the thing. When I used to do that, I would have some parents saying, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. Hello.
Oh, sorry.
I would say, I don't know what to do. Here's what goes wrong. Sometimes they get confused. Not all of them, but some people do get confused, and it's normal. And I did when I was a first-time mom. I was so confused. I didn't even know what I was doing. And I tried to think about what to do. But in any case, what happened is this. One parent gets nervous when she wants to feed the baby. She gets tense because some doctor happened to tell this parent, oh, your child's weight is decreasing instead of gaining. So at this rate, the child is not going to make it. And I'm thinking,
Whoa.
what? Ooh, what an idiot. Why would you tell a parent who is already struggling to figure out what to do with this baby, this new being? Mm-hmm. And she's scared. She has so many uncertainties. And then you tell her something like that. It put her in a really bad state. So then every time she was going to feed her child, she was extremely apprehensive. And guess what? The baby mirrored, yes, that apprehension and wouldn't eat.
Oh, yes. I've definitely seen it. I have 4 daughters. And I've seen my wife, when she is going through like a hard day, being a mother is very challenging. So when she's going through a hard day, I can see how our baby mirrors something, because the mothers are the greatest teachers. They learn things from the dad and stuff like that, but, when they look for how should I act, it's always, what is mommy doing? They're more like in tune with mothers than they are the fathers. Mm-hmm. That's just the way it is. So, I've noticed that situation in my own life. So if my wife is apprehensive, then all of a sudden baby is worried. She doesn't know what's going on. She's like, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? And then she starts crying more. Yes. Because she's scared. And then when I come home, I can see that. Because my wife will be like, well, just when our children were like really young. She's like, baby's just crying. And I, as a father, I have to use my 5 senses to understand my children. So one thing is the tone of the cry. I can tell that sounds like a scared cry. There's hungry cry, there's mad cry, there's hurt cry, there's really, really sad cry. Mm-hmm. But that one was scared cry. So I pick her up. I'm like, it's okay. So I know it's my job as a father to stop the loop, the feedback loop. Yes. I have to step in, grab my little baby, bounce her around, calm her down. Then she's calm, and then it stops feeding the loop of anxiety and anxiousness to my wife, and then my wife calms down, and then the baby's calm. She's like, oh, everything's safe. Yeah. So,
there's mirror neuron working right there in the family dynamic, because this is the other side. And that's what I wish people would recognize. Mm-hmm. When you're walking into an environment, understand that you are responsible, not somebody else. You are responsible for the energy you walk into a room with. Mm-hmm. Be responsible, because as you walk into the room with that energy, you will attract more of that. Mm-hmm. So which one are you walking in with? Mm-hmm. Understand you mirror what is around. So when you are responsible for your emotions, for your energy that you're walking in with, understand that somebody also who is also in there is going to absorb that and mirror that.
Can I jump in, sis? Mm-hmm. Okay. I really liked what she's teaching me. I understood
I'm learning a lot from you too.
Oh, thank you. People must be like, oh, you guys are so sappy.
It's a normal thing.
Yeah. So the thing is too is what I try to do is if I walk into a setting, I know that coming in, I have to control my energy, the type of energy I might bring into a situation. Mm-hmm. Now I run a business, and sometimes when I go to business meetings, if I come in with an energy of this very serious tone, even if I'm the leader of the, when I come into a business meeting and there's other companies and there's customers and all these things, If I come in with a very serious tone, I notice that it creates almost like a fear. Like people are like, well, why is he so serious? Why is his energy so serious? Why is he mad? Or what's going on? Yes. Which can be beneficial in some business settings. Mm-hmm. But if you want to have a good business setting, that's not a good situation. Mm-hmm. I just realized that a couple weeks ago. So now what I try to do is try to come into a situation with a neutral energy. So I can see what energy is suited for this business meeting. Mm-hmm. In personal situations, try to come in with neutral and kind of read the room to see like, well, what's the energy flow here? You know, if it's kind of somber, maybe I need to introduce a little bit of positive, happy, joyous energy to help some people out. If it's really joyous, maybe I'm like, I'm going to jump in with the joy and the happiness. Mm-hmm. You know, so like my sister was saying, understanding that your energy will attract things, mm-hmm. but also understanding like your energy has the power to change other people's energy as well. Yeah,
and that's, I think, people forget. Mm-hmm. And going back on surrender is recognizing the energy you're walking in and surrendering it to the cause that what you're trying to accomplish. Because surrender is something that I came up with this, but if somebody else has the same thing, that's okay. But it just occurred to me. It probably exists in somebody else's vocabulary or somebody else's plan or diagram. Don't come after me, I'm just saying. But I use this in sessions with clients and friends and family, that surrender, trust equals...
Oh, my girl. Which baby's down here?
Faith. Once again, surrender, trust equals faith. They go hand in hand together. Mm-hmm. Come sit in. You can come here and say hi. My niece is here. Yeah. The spunky one. Okay. All right.
When should we do the next podcast?
Okay, so the next podcast that we would do, I'm drawing blank. I know next week I'll do one by myself, but if my brother changes his mind and he wants to join,
I'm coming in. Like, what are you talking about? That's
okay, it's gonna be next Sunday.
Okay.
What time?
We should do it at the same time.
8 a.m.
No, I guess. Let's do noon.
Noon?
Like 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock. Okay.
Mountain time.
Mountain time. Okay. 1 o'clock Mountain time.
And we'll discuss.
We'll discuss hope. Okay? So that's on the agenda. So I hope you guys got something out of today's...
I hope you guys got something today, too.
Yes. And I'm excited about my brother, and then for future things that we've been talking about. And I'll let you know. I won't keep anybody in the dark. We will talk when we finally come around to doing what we've decided to do and come up with. One of the things I wanted to close with is this. Being a part of a family sometimes can be stressful, and sometimes it could be a breeze. If you live in a breeze one, hey, kudos to you. Yeah. But if you live in there's a lot of chaos, but remember the fun moments, because those are the times that will give you peace during the chaos. So creating memories with your family is like the key. That's what I have learned so far in this lifetime. The more I learn, I will share with you. But aside from that, this has been an amazing journey, and we are so stoked to learn more. And I think what we are praying next year, I will take my brother to Ghana.
Yes.
To meet the family and our tribe. Always number 9. Yay. So we can, meet the rest of the relatives back home. Everybody excited. And that's the thing. He's become like the family hero, honestly. Me, firstborn, I'm like edged out at this point. And then he goes at any length. Well, says, I'm the oldest male in the family now.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm pulling rank, and I was like, you're not going to let that go. And it's so funny because it's always me now, just being the firstborn, a senior. And everybody comes to me. So I'm like, okay. With our culture, the first male or the eldest male, it doesn't matter if there were 10 girls before him, we still have to go to him. It is what it is. And I learned that there are other cultures like that. So it's not only our culture in Ghana.
Yeah.
It's not like some chauvinistic thing. It is what it is. And I'm not angry with it or saying, well, I don't do that kind of stuff.
She's still my
or
big
trying
sister.
to pull rank with anybody. So it's fun. It's fun. It's a fun banter we do. But the more we decide and what we are going to do, we will talk to you about it and then get more information about what you want to see. Those of you who want to contact me or ask questions, you have comments, questions, and things you want to know.
Hi, sweetheart.
Call me contact me at love, love. Okay, my niece is here, so I'm a little, she's distracting me. This is Miss Cora.
Hi.
Yes, this is Cora. It's my middle baby.
Yes, she's the middle baby I was telling you about.
Yeah.
So anyways, the email address is LUV, the number 4, give, GIVE, live, LIVE, at gmail.com. Contact me and I'll be able to talk to you. All right? And we will figure out whose question we're going to answer. And send me the comments, questions, and we'll be able to take care of it. Once again, is love, LUV, the number 4, give, GIVE, live, LIVE, at gmail.com. Signing off, my name is Stroda Aglago and Jiwanu
Aglako.
Jiwanu, which means brave heart or strong heart. The strong heart does wondrous things. So definitely my dad gave him that name because he said he's very brave to work so hard and then
I'm honored.
And get this. So this is Jiwanu Conroy Obe Aglago.
Yes.
Okay? Talk to you guys next week. Have an amazing week. Love you all. Thanks for joining me on Love, Forgive, Live podcast. Talk to you next week. Bye.